But I mean, they have really gone above and beyond the Call of Duty there. I really think, But that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about conspiracy theories that were once just theories and have proven to be true. Conspiracy theories, the paranormal, UFOs, aliens, and all things strange and unusual. This is Black Lotus. The American government has never been what anybody would call trustworthy, I guess. But I think the CIA is particularly heinous in some of the things that they've done. They're a spy agency. So you got to expect a certain amount of
uncouthness.
Yeah, but they have really gone above and beyond the Call of Duty there. I really think, But that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about conspiracy theories that were once just theories and have proven to be true. So,
conspiracy theorists always are considered nut jobs and everything else. Yet there's a lot of times where they're absolutely correct in what they're talking about.
Yeah. The big thing that's going around about Alex Jones right now,
right,
and how he's been banned from a lot of social media. But he hasn't been banned necessarily for his conspiracy theories so much as he's being banned for kind of hate speech and that kind of thing. And the sad part about that is that people, I think, are now equating conspiracy theorists with him.
Right.
And he is not the typical conspiracy theorist. He's a nut. I think it's all an act with him. I really do. I don't think he's really like that.
Well, he has said that at one point. He said it was his character that he uses, but then he changes around. No, this is all me. I mean, he's anyhow. Yeah.
Yeah. But there are a lot of conspiracy theorists or theories out there right now that have yet to be proven. But that's just it. That's the key word, yet. A lot of them may never be proven.
Well, a lot of these weren't even thought of to be proven until all these papers that were released because of the act where after so many years,
Freedom of Information
Act.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we find out all this information. It's like, wait a minute. What the things our grandparents were talking about is actually true.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go over a bunch of 10 conspiracy theories that were proven to be true. The first one, speaking of the CIA, the first one was a weapon that was developed in secret by them, and it was coined the heart attack gun. And essentially what it did is it shot a poison dart into the person you wanted to assassinate, and the dart would dissolve immediately and only leave behind a little red dot, a small little red dot. And the poison that it injected caused you to have a heart attack immediately, fatally. And the thing about that is that the poison would denature so quickly that it would never be detected in an autopsy.
Yeah, that's what's the scary thing. I mean, I can see them doing this and using something like this in all the wrong ways, and it's scary.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But it was the CIA director at the time back in 1975 admitted to this. His name was William Colby, and he admitted to this in a probe conducted by the then Senator Frank Church,
right,
who was asking him about it, and he freely admitted to it.
Yeah.
And again, the CIA, it's a covert operation. It's a spy agency, and so it doesn't surprise me that they developed stuff like this. I mean, the MI6 in England has a whole lot of this kind of stuff.
Get Smart had one like it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, but I mean, very 007 kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, really.
It was that. I mean, if you Google this, you can find the video of them talking about this, and I watched that video, and
it
it's
went viral a while back. Yeah,
it's kind of scary. Yeah, 2009 it came out, I believe.
Yeah.
It was very scary to watch them just like matter of factly talk about. Yeah, we have this gun that kills people, and don't make you think you just had a heart attack.
Yeah. I mean, You know, well, whatever. Anyway, so and then another one is the theory that the CIA spied on Washington press corps and actually infiltrated the whole system in order to gain intelligence from them. And
well, this wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, we think it's still happening today.
I'm most certain that it is still happening today. You know, I mean, look at what's going on with Facebook right now. You know, I mean, with that whole situation. You know, I mean, and it wouldn't be hard for the government to track you these days on the internet, and then I think that they certainly do.
Well, it's already been said that they have. I mean, there's just all the biorhythm programs and stuff that are out there that just capture everything. You can't even like talk to somebody and send them a private message sometimes without mentioning something, and all of a sudden you're getting advertisements for it.
Yeah. It's all about the cookies. It's all about the cookies, you know. But anyway, this situation started back in the 50s, and it was called Operation Mockingbird. And what they did, the CIA approached American journalists to influence public opinion, you know, for propaganda purposes,
right?
You know, and like I said, to gather intelligence, and it went on for nearly 30 years.
Can you believe that?
Well, under the scope, under the radar.
I want to say, you know, is there what, like in '63, I think, or something like that? And it's who says it's still not going today?
Oh, certainly. You know, people always talk about fake news. I mean, this is certainly part of that. It's a matter of propaganda. That's all it really is. You know, it's the government, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's like, although they've been caught on a couple of things, like CNN and Fox, they've been caught on a couple of things. I would say the majority of this so-called fake news is spread by the government, you know, because of situations like this past situation, that Operation Mockingbird. And but Carl Bernstein, who, I don't know if you remember him, he was with Bob Woodward, and they were the team that busted open the whole Watergate thing,
right?
And essentially led to Nixon's resignation. This is the anniversary of his resignation, by the way.
Oh, I know what we can have for an anniversary present.
Yeah, really, no doubt. But yeah, August 9th. But anyway, he told about this in a 1977 interview on with Rolling Stone.
Wow.
And and then there was a committee set up called the Church Committee. And that committee, what it was a Senate Select Committee to study government operations. And they exposed the whole thing in a report to Congress. So let me read to you what they said. It's kind of interesting, actually. They said, the CIA currently maintains a network of several hundred foreign individuals around the world who provide intel for the CIA and at times attempt to influence opinion through the use of covert propaganda. These individuals provide the CIA with direct access to a large number of newspapers and periodicals, scores of press services and news agencies, radio and television stations, commercial book publishers, and other foreign media outlets.
Yep.
I mean, that's you can't deny when a Senate Select Committee admits their findings to Congress, you can't deny that the government deals in this kind of stuff, which is, again, it's not surprising. I mean, you know, we've heard of other countries doing this, you know, with the propaganda and all that. But the American mindset is that the government would do no such thing. You know, I mean, and I think that mindset is actually starting to fade away. I mean, ever since like the Nixon administration, you know, when the whole Watergate thing happened, I think that's when people really started to not believe the good government bullshit.
It was our government that would never do something like that. It's always them that would do that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, that's pretty obvious that we have and probably still continue to do today.
I think our government will do anything they need to do to keep either an idea alive or to push an idea in the direction they need it to go.
Sure.
Including separating us racially and...
Absolutely. I think their eventual goal is civil war. Yeah. You know,
so then it goes back to the depopulation.
Absolutely. And the CIA, now we have the NSA, and they've kind of teamed up together. And so, yeah, I think that the propaganda and the government tracking is happening between the two of them right now. I think it's pretty obvious. In fact, there's the idea that we're being watched by our televisions and by our computers and stuff like that. And some of these make it plain as day that they are doing this in their policies that you have to
agree to.
Yeah.
If you guys read some of those stuff, it's very interesting. They have basically access to your computer, anything they want. They say it's we only have access to this, and this, but that gives them access to just basically everything.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
yeah.
Let's talk about the government poisoning the alcohol during the Prohibition. What'd you find out about that?
Well, in 1920, of course, alcohol was made illegal. And
which was the dumbest thing this country has ever done, I swear to God.
Well, the bootleggers weren't going to stop it.
Sure.
They were going to get alcohol.
Yeah, they saw this as an opportunity.
Right.
I mean, that's
they got the alcohol that they would use for paints and fuels and solvents and things like that, even medical stuff, and they would restill it again and make alcohol out of it.
Right.
And they would sell it. So in 1926, there was metals in some of this, and people were getting sick.
Sure. Well,
Okay.
as you would off of some of this stuff.
And the government still didn't want to okay alcohol. So in 1926, Calvin Coolidge decided he was going to try chemicals and poisons. So what he did is he poured poison into the alcohol.
Yeah, and folks, we're not talking about any kind of poison. We're talking about stuff like methyl alcohol, kerosene, gasoline, chloroform, formaldehyde, and acetone.
Yeah.
Good God. It's enough to kill anybody.
Yep, and that's exactly what happened. They still kept stealing the alcohol and making alcohol out of it, and people were dying.
Yeah, people were dying, and they were still continuing to do this.
The government, says that they were putting the stuff in there, but when you have people starting to die because of it, and they're going to keep drinking it, and you keep doing it, instead of stopping it, you actually, in a year after they started this in 27, they actually upped it to make it even worse.
Well, I kind of wonder, considering this, and we were just talking about the eventual depopulation. I wonder if it had something to do with population control, because the government wasn't stupid. They knew that people were going to continue to drink this shit.
Well, 10,000 people is estimated died.
Oh yeah, over 10,000. Holy crap!
And that's what they know of.
And see, that's what I'm wondering. And back during the 20s, we had a lower population anyway, and so I just kind of wonder if it was a matter of population control. But I want to say it. I want to say it probably. They didn't expect it to be the death toll to be that high.
No,
but
they had to expect something.
Yeah. I mean, over 10,000
especially in
people.
the 20s, when it's not like you go on Facebook and go, "Don't drink the alcohol."
Yeah, right.
Big difference back then.
I don't know. I mean, aside from the population control, I don't know what the government really expected to come out of this decision to do this.
When I was researching this, I came upon the first findings in New York at the Bellevue Hospital. And the night of Christmas Eve is when all the deaths basically started that they knew about.
Oh, really?
I guess this guy had come in all out of breath, gasping that Santa Claus was running after him.
Ho, ho, ho.
Santa Claus wanted to kill him, and he had a baseball bat with him. Well, before the nurses could even realize what was going on, that he was poisoned and having hallucinations, he died.
Yeah.
And then they said, all of a sudden, here comes a couple more party guests all
started
sick.
trickling in.
And then here comes a couple more. And by the end of the evening, dusk of Christmas, there had already been 60 people that were severely ill, and another 23 people that had already passed.
Wow.
Within the matter of that few hours.
Crazy, man. That's crazy. And I think that there are probably a lot of other conspiracy theories out there dealing with population control that have yet to be proven, but this one was proven. So.
Oh yeah. Well, they basically announced it that they were doing it. They just didn't stop when people started passing out.
They made it a federal law that at least 10% of the industrial alcohols had to have these poisons in it.
Right.
So yeah. Anyway, tell me about the gay bomb.
Well, the gay bomb.
Oh, which I thought I had always thought was kind of a joke. I didn't even know it was a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, last time when I mentioned it, you were just like thought I was making fun of something, but no, it's real.
Yeah.
Well, the theory of it's real. I shouldn't say it's real. Back in 1994, the Air Force decided that they were going to create a gay bomb. It would be a non-lethal chemical weapon that they would basically drop female hormones all over the troops.
Okay.
This would totally disrupt the troops.
The opposing troops.
Right.
Okay.
This would totally disrupt the troops. The sexual irresistibility to one another would totally cause havoc in the field, and it would totally negatively impact their ability to fight.
Wait, let me stop here because I don't know if you know this, but Napoleon, when he was at war with the world, he encouraged homosexuality amongst his troops. And the reason being is because he figured that you were more likely to go help and save your lover than you are to just another soldier.
Right. This also happened in ancient Greece.
Oh, did
it? They did it also, yeah. There was the Sacred Band of Thebes. And that was basically a group of 150 pairs of lovers.
Okay.
That made up a military. And it was an elite military. It was in the 4th century BC. So even back then, they realized this is not a good idea.
Yeah, well,
you're going to protect somebody you love. You're not going to like.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, why would you do that over the opposing troops? Because it seems to me it would make the troops stronger.
Exactly.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, again, think about the times. Back in ancient Greece and Roman times, it was okay to be. You weren't gay, you weren't straight. You had a wife, and sometimes you'd wander off with the boys.
Right.
So this was no big deal to have a gay. But then, for some reason, all of a sudden, we changed, and being gay was no longer acceptable. So what did we do? We started harassing people about it and stuff like that, and thinking bad things and making bad things, and thus they would think that it would be bad if all these homosexuals would be in the army.
Yeah.
They just didn't.
I know that in some of the Persian countries, it's still like that today, where you're married for the purposes of having children, and that kind of thing, having a family.
Well, most marriages were arranged,
and the homosexual aspect was something you just did for fun. I mean, and there's severe laws against it, but by death. But if it's discovered, but it's something that people just kind of look the other way about. I mean, it's not. You have a family, you have children, you have a wife or wives. Go play. Yeah, it's kind of that kind of attitude. But
what a strange world we live in, because the next one is just totally the opposite. The next one is a gaydar machine that the government made.
That was another thing I thought he was kidding about. I said, well, gaydar is something that, you just have a sense that another person's gay. And he's like, no, they actually had a device in Canada.
Yeah, in Canada, they had a device. The government had a professor develop this device. And basically what they would do is they'd show you pictures. But inadmittedly, they would have pornographic pictures in it. Now, and it was taking, things like your blood pressure, your breathing, how much you sweat, all those type of readings. So when you all of a sudden got aroused because of a homosexual picture, they'd go, ding, 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 there's another gay person. You didn't even know you were being tested for that because you were seeing pictures of puppies and butterflies.
Yeah. I wonder if they also showed pictures of heterosexual porn.
Right, I would think they mixed it.
Yeah.
They would look for things like your eyes dilate, anything that would respond to the same sex.
Yeah, a sensory perceptor.
Right,
kind of like they do with the lie detector.
Right. They told the people that this was just a stress test. So people would relax and there's no big deal. I'm sure they started figuring out though, because it ended up that 400 men were excluded and fired from the civil service, the military, and the mounted police because of this.
Really?
And over 9,000 people had been tested with this machine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then, of course, they ended up admitting that, yes, they were testing for homosexuality, not stress.
Yeah.
But another conspiracy theory.
Now, when did this take
crazy.
place?
This took.
You remember?
I'm not even sure. I think this was in the
like back in-
60s also.
It was 60s, was it?
60s or 70s, yeah.
And they released them saying that it was because it was a for mental disorders. But as I mentioned to you before, I mean, back then being gay was considered a mental disorder. It's not like
It still is
today.
to a lot of people. So.
Well, yeah, to the idiots out there.
Either that or the devil's work.
Yeah.
So another one the government pulling things on us is LSD.
Yeah. Let's talk about that definitely, because this was part of the there was a CIA operation that took place back in the 60s, and it was called MK Ultra. And basically what it was an experiment on behavior modification. And they used the CIA used LSD on volunteers at first, just to see how their behavior would change. But then eventually they started doing it on people without their knowledge, much less their consent.
Didn't they put it in somebody's water?
Oh yeah,
in the town's water.
Yeah, and a whole town at one point. I read about that. Yeah, crazy. And the whole town went nuts. Apparently, many people died.
Wow.
Yeah. So what the result of this is? They also did it on Canadians. It wasn't just American citizens. They also did it on Canadians.
Amazing.
Without their knowledge. And so that's another conspiracy theory that's a kind of a totally different conspiracy theory that conspiracy theorists thought that they had performed these things on Canadians as well. But anyway, but so the result of all this is it left many people with permanent brain damage.
Wow. And
so anyway, the U.S. General Accounting Office issued a report back on September 28th, 1984, and they admitting to this. And so a lot of people filed lawsuit against the government about it, and not all of them won, but quite a few of them were compensated.
Wow.
Through out of court settlements, that sort of thing.
So the government ended up admitting to this.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, and and the funny thing about that is that I don't remember the year, but I want to say it was back in the mid '80s. The CIA ordered all the MK Ultra tests to be eliminated, so they destroyed all the information that they had.
Get rid of the evidence that we don't really know.
That's exactly it. But they got busted on it anyway, And so anyway, and then there was Frank Olson, who was part of this, and he was tested at first as a volunteer, and he was a CIA agent. And he was brought in, and as a volunteer, he volunteered to take this LSD. But then again, they did it without his consent and knowledge later on through drinking water and that kind of stuff. And so they continued to monitor him. And but anyway, he eventually kind of lost his mind completely.
Well, yeah, I would think.
Yeah, and so the final report about Frank Olson was that he was in his hotel room, apparently on an operation. And some people say he committed suicide. The government says that he committed suicide by throwing himself out a window. But the conspiracy theorists, there are a lot of people think that he was actually murdered by the CIA because he was going to divulge information about this. And apparently, I saw a documentary on this, and apparently the way he came out of the window, people are saying there's no way he threw himself out of the window for this because he had to have been pushed. So yeah, that's anybody's guess. Nobody has admitted to anything about this yet. But as far as the LSD experiments on people without their knowledge or consent, that's been admitted to.
Well, what would they expect a town to not go crazy if you keep putting LSD in their water all the time?
Right. Again, I don't know.
Our government, you gotta love it.
But yeah, the interesting thing about Frank Olson is that his family eventually received $750,000 by a special act of Congress.
Good.
Yeah, and not only that, but the family also received a public apology from Ronald Reagan, who was president at the time, and from the CIA director at the time, William Colby, who, as you remember, he was the one who admitted to the whole
Right.
Heart attack gun thing too. So yeah,
Makes me wonder what we haven't heard about.
oh my God.
Now, the MK Ultra also did a lot of other stuff too. The mind control.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't just LSD that they worked with. They also worked with other substances as well. Mind-altering substances. But I mean, the MK Ultra. I mean, we could go another hour and a half on the MK Ultra. With what they've done. But yeah, I really just wanted to touch on the LSD thing today because and we can certainly do a show on MK Ultra because there's just
So much.
oh my God, a lot of clandestine stuff, but let's talk about the Dalai Lama.
The Dalai Lama is back in the 60s. The CIA admitted to them that they were using the money from us to help them out. Just a little.
Yeah,
$1.7 million
per year
to aid the guerrilla operations against China.
Right, the Tibetan resistance. And the Dalai Lama himself received like $180,000 a year. On top of that.
So basically we were paying him to pray what?
Yeah. Well, I think what they were doing is they were paying him to lead up the resistance because he was a spiritual leader and so therefore he was the inspiration behind all of this. I think that's why he received that kind of money.
I'll be some inspiration. Give me some money like that.
Right? God. But I mean, so people have always thought that he was a CIA agent. Now, I don't know if you really call him an agent, but I mean, he was certainly paid to lead up this resistance.
He was definitely used by them.
Yeah. And then in the 70s, Nixon met with Chinese leaders so that he could increase the U.S.-China relations, and I don't know if you remember that happening back then. But that was when he didn't he throw up on himself or threw up on the leader accidentally at the dinner.
I don't remember. Yeah. I was not into politics when I was a kid at all.
No.
So.
And one of my early memories was when Nixon resigned and. My entire school met in the cafeteria and watched him board the plane with his famous, peace sign, I remember and watching this on this little screen TV, the whole school in front of this little screen TV, back in the 70s, Right. So, but yeah.
There wasn't a TV in every classroom.
Yeah, right. But yeah, the Dalai Lama, once Nixon met with the Chinese leader, the Dalai Lama, what he did is Nixon ended the whole program. And then the Dalai Lama criticized him for doing so. And he said that it was the whole program had been harmful to Tibet because it primarily just served American interests. So it seems to me that as much as I like the Dalai Lama, I really do. As much as I like that, that's almost the statement of somebody who feels spurned.
Yeah, he wasn't going to get his $1.7 million
exactly,
and his own personal $180,000
a year anymore. Yeah. So I mean, it just kind of sounds that way to me. I mean, I respect the Dalai Lama, I really do, and I'm very into Buddhism. The idea of Buddhism, and he seems like a really cool guy. And I think at first I thought this was a different Dalai Lama. It's not. It's the same one we have today. But yeah, I don't know. As much as I like him, I just think that this whole situation was he was just being a crybaby about the whole thing, So I don't know.
Ridiculous that we were giving that much money away when we had other stuff we could have been using it on, especially at that time when everything that was going on.
Yeah. One of the big conspiracy theories today, if not the largest conspiracy theory today, is that 9/11 was a self-inflicted wound by the American government to create a false flag operation in order to justify going to war with Iraq. And I'm a 9/11 truther. I really am. I don't believe all the theories because I think a lot of the theories can be easily explained away. However, I do believe that. I believe that the whole thing was orchestrated by the American government. And when I tell people that, they go, "Oh, come on. The American government could never put together an operation like that." Well, I'm here to tell you that they have a couple of times that we know of. One was the Gulf of Tonkin incident in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And the other was Operation Northwoods, and we'll get into that in a minute. But why don't you tell people about the Gulf of Tonkin situation?
Well, that was back in '64, and we needed to have America be more supportive of the Vietnam War that was going on. Now, what's a better way to do that than to have some people die and blame it on other people?
Sure, absolutely.
You know, so they basically attacked a ship called the Maddox, and there was a lot of reports that there's no information exactly how it happened or how it got back to that states and stuff, but they made it say that basically it was attacked and this was going to cause more distress in the war and cause the people to go, yes, we need this war. Keep going.
Yeah, and so this Maddox was a torpedo boat, right?
Correct.
But it didn't actually exist.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You wanted it to be real? This is the government. They don't always deal in real. Many times they fake things that we think they to make us think what they want us to think.
And again, other countries have done this throughout history. I mean, England used to do this all the time. They used to pull this shit all the time with the Buccaneers and stuff, and they would give them license. I can't remember exactly the term, but they would basically give them license to fire on another country's ships under another country's flag.
Right.
And so that would cause strife between these two countries, and so, yeah, I mean, this is nothing new, but again, it's the American mindset that the government couldn't possibly pull something like this off, or that they wouldn't.
Right. Oh, only the other people's governments would do something drastic and horrible.
Yeah. So there's that. But then this situation, thank God it was only in the plans and it never came to fruition.
I can't even believe it was in the plans and got as far as it did.
So we're talking about that Operation Northwoods, and what that was, it was basically a plan to kill via a bomb or something like that. Thousands of people in Miami, was it?
The naval base in Guantanamo.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. But anyway, they planned on doing that and then blaming Cuba for it.
Right.
This is back during the Cuban crisis, missile crisis.
And they had talked about lobbing mortars. They had talked about bombing it. They talked about actually even sinking boats in the harbors and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, crazy. Yeah. I mean, and people would immediately believe it. Right. I mean, look at our past with Pearl Harbor. I mean, so people would immediately be reminded of that and buy the whole explanation that Cuba had done it.
Well, they were even going to bomb the boats bringing people here.
Yeah. And so essentially what they were going to do is they're going to blame it on Cuba to justify a war with Cuba, and then quite possibly release nuclear weapons against them, which would have caused them to retaliate via Russia. Oh, yeah, thank God that never happened. That would have been crazy.
They also were thinking about doing some of the fake stuff and saying that planes were shot down that weren't. They were going to take a drone plane and fire it out of the sky. And a drone plane is just an empty plane, basically. So they were going to actually pretend that it was filled with passengers of the U.S. and blow it up in the air and say, oh, look what they did.
Yeah. So, folks, if you're watching this, I'm sure you don't buy the big government crap that they're always spewing down our throats. But if you are one of those people, question this stuff, because you know what? The government will do clandestine things.
Yeah.
and covert things. And, and every government does. But don't buy into the crap that our government is anything special and would never do anything like that, because we certainly have. And it's been proven time and time and time again.
Look these facts up yourself.
Yeah.
Do some research.
So again, Ralph and I aren't necessarily conspiracy theorists, but we certainly believe in some conspiracies. We don't buy into all of it. I mean, you've got to be a special kind of idiot to do that, I think. But some of these things, you just can't deny. No. It's there in black and white in some of these reports. And so yeah.
Even in color video.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's get out of here for the day, man. We are going to be talking right now. We've got the big California wildfires are going on right now.
Yes.
And there is a conspiracy theory out there that these fires were actually started by chemtrails and drones intentionally by the government. And this is a conspiracy theory that I found out has actually started back, I want to say back in December of last year, because of the wildfires that they had last year.
Correct.
And so anyway, we're going to be going over that because I think it's kind of, when I first heard about this, I actually heard it from my wife's brother, and he was telling me about this, and I kind of thought, I don't know. Then I started looking into it, and I don't know, it's got some teeth to it. So yeah,
should be interesting.
So yeah, we're gonna be talking about that on the next episode. So, but anyway, until then, keep thinking, and definitely question everything, especially your government. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click that little bell so you can get a reminder every time we upload a new episode.